Let's get going. I'll just add everyone else as they start joining. Oh, from Patagonia, Argentina. Welcome, Eve. It's lovely to see all of you and to see familiar faces that have been joining every week. So thank you for making the time. Thankfully, Zoom is working and functioning properly today. So we've been able to start on time. I hope you've all had a good week. It's certainly, yeah, we're certainly in the most extraordinary times. And I find that every week is just, the energy of every week seems to be so very different. And how we manage those energies obviously is key to helping us stay relatively sane and stable in these times. As I do every week, I've sat quietly and kind of connected to the energies of where we're at, and look to see what insight I can get to share with you today. I have had some really wonderful emails in the week from people who listened to last week's session, and with some really great questions. So I'm going to address those as well today. I just think that it is probably relevant to most of you that are listening today or watching today. Can't hear me, Elizabeth Rose. Can everyone else hear me? Just, yes, okay. Okay. Let's see if we can fix this quickly. Okay, let's see if Elizabeth Rose can fix her audio. So I think I'll start with what I kind of picked up for today's session, and then go into the questions at a later stage in today's session. But looking at where we are currently at the moment, I think that a lot of people, it's not the usual space of looking into the collective energy or feeling into the collective energy and seeing what is being presented there. It's a lot like what I'm doing now is having to feel into different levels, because people are not all at the same space or in the same space currently. It seems that as we progress moving forward, there are some people that are embracing the current situation and really working with it and using the space and the time to grow, to develop, to broaden their mind, their heart, open their heart, and really focusing on that self-growth and development. And yet there are others who are just really, really stuck. I've spoken to a couple of people in the last 2 weeks who are really in a lot of pain and as a result of the circumstances that they're in right now, and they're finding it really difficult to push through that feeling of for them it's real suffering, because they've lost their jobs or their careers have suddenly come to a standstill because they can't earn any money in this time, they can't do anything in this time, and they really are feeling lost and stuck. So when I look at the energies as they currently are right now, they are these different layers, I suppose, of where people are at. And it really is, and really does come down to, how are you consciously choosing to work with the energies? So it doesn't matter that we're in this time of pandemic and lockdown and all of these things that are happening on a global level. It really doesn't matter what our circumstances are. We still have the choice and the conscious choice with how do we handle this energy? How do we work with it? We have that choice. And we will always have that choice. So we can remain stuck. We can remain in a place of suffering. We can remain in a place of panic and worry and concern. or we can allow ourselves to move with this energy and say, what is it asking of us? What is it asking of us collectively? And what is it asking of us as an individual? And the more we actively and consciously work with the energy, the more supported we start to feel. And if we can step back from the suffering that is happening and recognize that actually suffering only really occurs when we are either living in the past or we're living in the future. When we are living in the present moment right now, there is no suffering. And I'm not talking about pain, heartache, those sort of things. Those are very real, and I'm not negating those feelings and those emotions. But I'm talking about the suffering, the mental suffering that comes when we are in a space of fear or panic. And that mental suffering occurs because our mind is in the future or it is stuck in the past. And how do we bring ourselves into the present moment so that we release that mental suffering and we're able to then let go of the fear and feel our way into what is this new space? What am I moving into? What is this newness that I'm moving into? Because whether we like it or not, the world is changing. Whether we are prepared to embrace that change or not, the world does not care. The universal energies are very, very neutral in that aspect. They want and urge us to grow and to evolve and to expand and all of that. But if we don't, that is our choice. So we really are at that point of looking, how am I choosing to work with this situation? How am I choosing to move through this energy that is currently permeating everything in every area of our lives? So this choice is coming up again, and it came up a couple of weeks ago, but it's really, really becoming quite important. And I think that part of why it's coming up now is that a lot of the lockdown rules and regulations are starting to ease off. There's a little bit more freedom. There is the choice to step back into old patterns, old habits, old ways of being, without actually having changed anything. And that really isn't what we should be doing. We really should be focusing on what are the things that we still need to shift and change within ourselves so that we can start to co-create this new earth or this new reality that is far more beneficial for everyone on the planet. So that's currently where everything stands. And if I'm looking on a kind of subconscious, unconscious level, again, there is a lot of stuff that is coming up for release. These things that are emerging are the limiting beliefs and patterns that we've bought into, whether those are ones that we've bought into from our families, ancestral beliefs and patterns, or whether they are collective societies' beliefs and patterns. Those things are kind of coming up for us to look at and to release and to let go of. So that's really happening on a subconscious level. And will permeate into our consciousness as we move into this week. So it really is start to focus on what is coming up for you that is limiting your thinking, limiting your perspective, limiting your view of the opportunities that are perhaps being presented to you. And some of those opportunities can be really subtle and small. Start to look for them, work with the energies to find them. And you know, you can choose. I've always been of the mind of, certainly when I was, a lot younger, I kind of allowed my life to be dictated to by circumstance. So whatever was happening around me was what influenced and impacted my life. So if there was chaos erupting around me, I was sucked into that chaos and thrown around by it and forced to change and forced to heal. And things were brought up for me to have to look at and face. And the older I got and the more I matured and the more I really developed the connection that I have to myself and to my own inner wisdom and guidance, the more I kind of went into this phase of, I'm going to anticipate that stuff is going to come up. I'm going to accept the fact that as a human being on this planet in this lifetime, I am going to have to face things that need to shift in me, that need to be healed, and that need to be resolved. Whether those are karmic lessons, whether those are ancestral things, it didn't really matter. I was going to anticipate that these things were going to come up. So before they came up to cause me anxiety or pain or stress or worry or confusion, I actually started delving into my unconscious mind and my soul aspect, so that I could actually start to pull these things out before they emerged in my life to cause chaos. And I really do urge people to do that. We don't need to be thrown into crisis in order to change. We don't need to be thrown into crisis in order to heal. Often crisis is not the best opportunity that we have to heal and change. But if we can use the external crisis as it is emerging in the world now and use that time to foster an internal journey, then we can actually start to work with ourselves and work with the energies, and we don't get thrown into the space of crisis. We don't get tossed around by the turmoil and the chaos of the world. We find a sacred and quiet, still space within ourselves that enables us to move through this time with more peace and more acceptance, and less panic and fear, essentially. So, use this time as we move into this week. What are the patterns that are coming up? What are the beliefs that are coming up? What are the things in you that are being presented that say, this is what needs to change, this is what needs to heal, this is what needs to transform in me? And look for the signs. For some people it's the repeating patterns, whether those patterns are patterns of thought or patterns of feeling or patterns of relationship or patterns of crisis even. What are those patterns that keep emerging in your life? Look for them. Look for the ones that are painful and cause a lot of discomfort. Those are the things that need to be looked at to be able to heal them, change them, and let them go. We also have to look at, we have been brought up in a particular society, in a particular culture. That will have informed how we operate in the world. We need to change that. We need to let it go, because we need to be able to start embracing new ways of living and being in the world. And if we are still operating under these conditions and belief systems and patterns and programs that we have bought into since we were children, then we are not going to actually work with the changes that are needed. We're going to be coming up against wall after wall after wall. A lot of the intentions or the motivations behind what we do, it needs to be clear. It needs to be aligned with our soul, not aligned with our ego, not aligned with what we think we should be doing or how we think we should be operating in the world. It needs to be aligned with our truth and the authenticity of our soul. And I will talk later on about how to start working with that and how to start tapping into it, because I think that's one of the common questions that is coming up after these sessions, is how do I find that energy? How do I connect to myself, to that soul aspect of me? And really, that is where the wisdom is held. That is where the truth is held. And that is what we need to really start working with it as we move through this time. If we look on a conscious level, the development of our intuitive self, our intuitive aspect is really key at the moment. Because it is that part of us that will guide us as we move forward, will guide us in these are the opportunities that are coming up, will be the signs that we need to guide us moving forward. And again, when we are living in the present moment, that is when our intuition kicks in. Our intuition doesn't kick in when we're focusing on the past or we're focusing on the future. We need to be in the now. So focusing on what do you need to do to bring yourself into the present moment. If you're not living in the present moment, why is your life so uncomfortable that you can't live in the present moment? What do you need to shift and change in your environment that will enable you to be comfortable in the present moment? What in you needs to shift and change? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to heal? What pain do you need to address in you that will then allow you to settle into the moment? Because when we step into that moment, we are in that perfect place of acceptance and trust. We understand that what is unfolding for everyone is divinely guided. We understand that what is unfolding for each one of us is divinely guided by our soul and has purpose, and there is a plan. And we can allow that plan to unfold in the natural way that it needs to unfold, instead of allowing our egos to get involved and think that we can control it and we can dictate how things are going to pan out for us. So that's on a conscious level. The other thing that you will find coming up as we move into this week with these belief patterns and programmings that will come up is also, what are we attached to? Why do we allow ourselves to be kept trapped in these programs and patternings? What are we attached to? What do they offer us? What are they offering our ego self? How do they make us feel important? How do they make us feel like we have purpose? Those kind of egoic aspects are going to start to emerge. And often underneath that, you find that there is emotional wounding that needs to be addressed and needs to be healed. So everything is kind of this head and this heart line that is being awoken, so that we can start this communication between those two aspects of ourselves. That is really what is emerging more and more as we move forward in this time. Just checking what else there is here. I think also for a lot of people, there is this theme of repeating patterns coming up that need to be addressed. A lot of that is also karmic. So we need to start looking at what is the unfinished karmic business that we have, so that we can move forward without those strings holding us and connecting us to the past. We really need to start letting those go, and to be able to move on from those karmic situations, so that we can free ourselves and free our energy to be able to start co-creating what we need to co-create. And when I talk about the co-creation happens between us as the human being, us as the soul, and then the divine source of all creation that we are connected to. It is those three aspects that are working through us and bringing this new form, or this new reality, into form. So we really need to start opening up those channels within ourselves, clearing the channels that that will create blockages to us accessing the energy and the wisdom of our soul, as well as the wisdom and the energy of the divine. And how we do that is by looking at what are these beliefs that are keeping us trapped? What are the hidden emotions underneath those that are keeping us attached to the past, to people, to places, to things? Start really addressing those issues, and you can start to free yourself and clear the energy, so you have this direct line, direct connection to the divine, to your soul. And I think on that note, I can start to address one or two of the questions that I got this week. One of the questions was around this question of the soul and the spirit, and the two different, recognizing that there are two different aspects of ourselves. And for me, I kind of look at the soul and the spirit, and I use the analogy of a car, of a motor vehicle, and how the spirit, our spirit, is the engine of that car, and the soul is actually the body of the car that we use. It is that body that is unique. It looks different. It is a particular color. It is a particular make. But the spirit is the engine that actually drives that car and allows it to move forward. The soul is what it is. The soul is the part of us that directs it. We drive the car. So we can differentiate between the soul and the spirit in that way. One of the questions is, how do we get in touch with our soul, and how do we get in touch with our spirit? And for me, the spirit is something that is a living, breathing energy that embodies our entire physical form. It exists within us. It is that fire, that essence, that energy of life. Whereas the soul is more of often an elusive aspect of us, because for so many of us, we have been taught that the soul doesn't really exist. It's not important. We've been told that this human aspect of us and the ego is more important. So we've discounted the wisdom of the soul and what that carries. And if we look at it, it is the soul aspect of us that has embarked on lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of experience. And it is through those lifetimes of experience that our soul has gathered the wisdom that it holds and it contains. And it is that wisdom that we need to tap into so that we can actually start to live out our best life in this lifetime. So a lot of the work that we've been doing, certainly it feels like my whole life, has been clearing and releasing what are the blockages that sit in the way of me accessing my soul. And if we look at the heart center, that is the portal to the soul. So the heart is often the space where we enter into in order to be able to connect to the soul. When we drop into that heart space, we're able to start to move through that energy of the heart and into the essence of our soul. Often that can be quite challenging for people who carry a lot of emotional pain, because the minute they drop into that soul, that heart space, what emerges first is the pain, is the heartache, and whatever it is, emotional stuff that they are carrying in that space. But once they move through that, they're able to then access the wisdom and essence of their soul. So you will find that as you start to work more and more and more with your heart and connecting to your soul, there will be emotional stuff that will come up for healing and release. It is important to recognize that that's what it is. If you imagine that that accessing the soul through the heart space is like diving into a pond. The surface of the pond may be filled or covered with dirt and debris, but the deeper you get, clearer it gets, and the lighter it gets. So if you can just hold that image in your mind of moving through that debris, it's just what is sitting on the surface of the heart. The minute you move deeper in, the more you are able to access the wisdom of your soul, and that soul essence that will then guide you and move you and enable you to move forward in a healthier, I suppose, more inspired space. Let's just see what else is there. Any questions anyone has on anything I've said so far?
Kate, it's Nancy from Boston. I'm good to be here. I've been watching it and it's really, really helped me a lot. I've been alone for about 10 weeks working from home. I live alone and mostly I've done really well with it. And then I don't know about anybody else, but every now and then, like out of the blue, it's like a wave just comes over me and I get depressed. I try to keep it in the moment, but the minute I go outside the moment and look forward, we're just starting to open in the last few days. Yeah. And things like, boy, I'd really like to color my gray hair, and you know, the shops are opening up next week, and I thought that'd be the first place I'd want to go, but you stop and you just go, what's safe? What is it ever going to feel safe to go to a restaurant again? Ours aren't open yet, but you know, even the grocery store, I get up and go to the grocery store at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm back in my, you know, once a week I go out and I do grocery, you know, bank, whatever, all at like 6:30 in the morning. And I just wonder if anybody else, if I can keep it in the moment, I really am okay. And then Thursday, I said, I'm going to knock off work. I'm going to go out on my deck and take a book and just enjoy being home. And my coworker, just as I was getting up to turn off, said, can you give me half hour to run to the store? I sat back down at my computer, and 5 minutes later, a huge tree fell across my yard and landed on the exact place where I would have been sitting had he not asked me to stop. And I mean, I'm okay. It's going to cost thousands of dollars to get the tree out of there. And no damage was done to my house, not even damage to my deck. Unfortunately, the house next door had, you know, whatever, land on the roof. But I'm just like, okay, that was, I mean, on one hand, it made me feel safe, but on the other hand, it's like, holy cow, that was 5 minutes from being under that tree. So anyway, it's been a weird week.
Well, thank you for sharing, Nancy. That's quite a story, that tree falling. I mean, I think that it's yeah, that's definitely one way of observing how protected you are and how well you're being looked after. So yeah, be very grateful for that very clear message. I mean, I think just to address your those waves of emotion or fear or anxiety or worry that you're feeling, I think it's important to recognize that, you know, we do exist within this collective consciousness, and as such there are these waves of energy that are moving through the collective that are fear, anxiety, worry, panic, grief even. A lot of people are grieving during this time, grieving the loss of what they feel they are losing, grieving the loss of loved ones, grieving the loss of the life that they have been living. And I think that, you know, it's important in that time when that wave hits to really sit with that and say, is this mine? Or is this something that I am processing for the collective? Because we do often engage in that kind of process work as well, where a lot of the energy that we're working through isn't necessarily our own. There is a third aspect to that, which you can also sit with and look at. Is this mine? Does this belong to the collective or someone else? Or is this something ancestrally that is coming through and moving through me that needs to be released? So I really would sit with those questions every time that wave of fear or emotion hits. You know, the other aspect of that as well is that I think it is really, really important to recognize and remember that we have a destiny. You know, if your destiny is to die with a tree landing on you, then that is your destiny. If your destiny is to walk out of your house and get involved in a car accident and you know, that's your time to go, it's your time to go. I think we need to remember that we are, you know, that is the sole choice that we have made before we've even got here. You know, one of the two choices that's the most important choices we've ever made on a soul level are the day we are born and the day that we are going to die. And those two points are never changing. You know, it's here's the start and here's the end. What happens in between is the point, really, not really these 2 points. So I think we need to also remember that. And I think that, you know, I've worked enough with people who've had loved ones that have passed on, and to understand and to recognize that when you die, you are ready. You are prepared. You, on some level, you know, there is a peace and a serenity that comes in. And you might not consciously be thinking, oh, well, I'm feeling really peaceful. Maybe it's my time to go. But there definitely is this feeling. It's never really a shock, not to you and not to the people around you, even if it is a sudden death. So I think it's important to recognize and realize that, and remember as well that illness is often. Let me take a few steps back before I say what I was going to say. But everything manifests on an energetic level first. So if we are going to get ill, that is sitting within our energy field. And we can actually shift and change that through energy work, through clearing and releasing things that we need to release on an energetic level. We can actually remove and clear the illnesses that are potentially going to manifest through us. We have that power. So, you know, it's also recognizing that actually you are not a pawn in some game. You have power in this situation. It's just recognizing and remembering the power that you have. And again, choosing. You know, we can choose to engage in the world through a filter of fear, or we can choose to engage in the world through a filter of love.
Thank you. That said, I'm really glad I wasn't under the tree. But I appreciate redirecting my thoughts as far as the fear of the virus and all of that, because I came into it with that thought, be careful because I'm going to be 66 years old, so that's the age, blah, blah. But, I know that, but you forget it, and the fear takes that. You forget that when you're so surrounded by it. And I lost another friend this week. So I lost one of my oldest and best friends early on around Easter. And this week, another friend who got it very early and struggled for like months and passed yesterday. But so I know what you're, and thank you. That's the bottom line. I know what you're saying, and it does help. Thanks.
Thanks, Nancy. And I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, that is difficult. Okay, I've got another question here. Is there a way to recognize if something is karmic? Not sure how to answer that. I generally just have a strong sense that something is karmic. But it's often, if it's a karmic relationship, there's often a strong pull to that person. If it's a karmic situation, it can often be a repeat of something that we've felt before, something we've experienced before. Might not be in exactly the same way, but it is often, the repeat of a similar pattern or way or experience. I'll have to have a think about that. Or you can just ask me. I'll be able to tap in and tell you. Much easier that way. Trying to think of examples, I can't. Any other questions? Okay. Just going to check that email that I got. Just to make sure that I answered those questions. Okay, that seems to be all good. So maybe we can just move into doing our meditation if no one's got any questions. Thanks, Anita. I see your message there. Okay, there's another question. How can I attend a sensation of void when I expand and in the unknown? Okay, so Marielle, I have to have a think of that. Shelley's question, intellectually, I understand the need to let go of karmic connections, but what are the practical ways? I think I've mentioned this before. I'm not sure which webinar or with whom, but I think maybe I should explain, the reason we get stuck in a karmic cycle with, whether it's through relationships or situations or whatever it is. But if we, if you've read books about people dying or passing on and what they experience after life, you will understand some of what I'm going to say. I'm going to try and put it as simply as possible. But when someone dies, they are given the opportunity to review their life. And apparently it's within the first 48 hours of their death. They're given this opportunity to review their experiences, everything, the choices, the decisions that they made, everything that they went through in that time. And then they are also given the opportunity to go and finish any kind of unfinished business they might have with people. And that's often why someone will say, oh, well, I felt so-and-so come and visit me before they moved on or just after they died. And in that time of review, we get to see everything that we've done. And it is in that moment that we either move into a space of empathy, compassion, and love for ourselves, or we move into a space of judgment and criticism of ourselves and our choices and our decisions. And when we move into that space, we trigger the karma. And that's how we keep getting caught up in these karmic cycles and karmic relationships. So practically, how to get yourself out of karmic connections and karmic situations: find compassion for yourself, forgive yourself, and empathize with yourself. Let go of the judgments and the criticism. It is pointless. And there are, many ways to do that. It's often difficult to do it on your own. So if you can, find someone who can help you with that. I hope that kind of answers your question. Muriel, maybe, let's just see how, I might have to get back to your question about expanding into the unknown and working within the void. But let's get on with today's meditation, which I hope is going to bring us all into a space of peace and serenity and connectedness with ourselves. As usual, I have no idea where we're going and what we're doing, but I'll just close my eyes and see where we go and what comes. So if you can all find a comfortable spot for yourself, settle into your seats. And just take a couple of deep breaths. And just using your breath, allow yourself to relax. And to let go. Let go of any worries and concerns, any fears, any anxieties. Just allow them to let go. Feeling your body relaxing. Feeling yourself settle into your body. Move your awareness now down to your feet. And through your feet, feel the connection that you have to the earth. Allow yourself to become conscious of that connection. And as you start to feel that connection, allow a wave of energy from the earth to move from your feet, up your body and into your heart center, the middle of your chest. Just feeling how that energy of the earth anchors you, supports you, and sustains you. And then moving your awareness to the crown of your head. And through that point, allow yourself to feel the connection that you have to the divine universal energies. And feel a wave of those energies move down from your crown and into your heart center, where they meet and blend with the energies of the earth. And as these two energies blend and merge in your heart center, they expand outwards to encompass your entire body and being. Surrounding you in a ball of light. And just allow this light now to cleanse and to clear your entire energy field. Allow it to dissolve all negative emotions, thoughts, patterns, and programs. Feeling it purifying your energy system, moving through the different chakras and the energy lines. As this purification continues, you feel more relaxed, more centered, and calmer. And you allow yourself to drop into your heart center, to move your awareness and your consciousness into that space. And in your mind's eye, you imagine or you can see an open doorway. And you allow yourself to move through that doorway and into the essence and the energy of your soul. Just allow that energy and that essence to present itself in whatever way it needs to. You may see light and color. You may see a space of beauty, openness. Just allow yourself to observe whatever is revealed to you in this space. And as you connect with this energy and this essence of your soul, just allow yourself to receive any guidance, any insight, any wisdom. Perhaps there's an answer to a question that you need now. And now just gently allowing that soul energy and essence to begin to permeate your entire body and being. Feel it moving from your heart center and out into your chest, to your shoulders, down your arms and into your hands and fingers. Feel it moving up your chest and into your throat and your neck, up into your jaw, moving into and around your head. Feel it moving down your chest and into your stomach area. Moving down into your hips, your pelvic area, your lower back, down into your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles and your feet and your toes. Just allow yourself to feel the hum of your soul essence as it permeates your entire body and being. And feeling the soul essence and energy moving out and into that bubble of light that surrounds you. And just allowing yourself to really anchor that energy and essence in your human form. Allow yourself to remember what it feels like. Feel its lightness and its power. And allow it to settle in and around you. So that it may inform and infuse your life with truth and with love. And keeping your heart open and the energy of your soul around you and in you. Take a few deep breaths. Bring your awareness back into the space that you're in. Feeling your fingers and your toes. And opening your eyes when you're ready. Okay. Hope you all enjoyed that. Certainly, if you were looking for a way to connect with your soul or the energy and essence of your soul, that's one way of doing it. Again, these webinars are all recorded, so if you ever need to go and listen to the meditations again, you can just find your way to my website, and they're all there. Thank you all again for joining me. If anyone's got any other questions or anything else they'd like to share, you can do so now.
Just one last thing, Kate. That was so beautiful. And I was able to really connect back with my soul, which I've really been having a hard time doing. I've been trying to get myself to journal, to whatever. But the one thing, so it kind of connected back to the meditation from last week. And I found that so in the beautiful garden that we described. But anyway, what she said was, don't put regret into the past or worry into the future, because that's what's causing that overwhelm. And if you can really stay in the moment, you stay calm. But when you look backwards and start rewriting history and put regret in there, or you go forward and worry about things that, truthfully, there's never been a time in history we have no idea what's going to come tomorrow. And then I asked about the tree, and she said that it was just a way for me to understand, because I was feeling so unprotected being here by myself for so long, that it was as clear as it could be that you are very protected, and that you can just stay in the moment and not worry about. And the other thing, I loved the idea that if the illness is in you, you can tell it not to be. And that's what she said too, was you can be out in the midst of it all, and you can go back to life as life starts to reopen and not be affected, because that's the decision your soul makes, to not engage in this. So anyway, it was beautiful and wonderful, and I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you. And thank you everybody for the nice comments.
Thank you, Nancy. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. And actually, as you were talking, I've just remembered that I actually found a guided meditation to clear this particular virus from our energy field. And if anyone wants a link to it, just pop me an email, and I'll certainly go and find it and forward it on to you. Yeah, because I think it is important, we don't have to be ill. We don't have to get ill. So we can definitely, there are energetic tools that we can use to make sure that we remain healthy on that level, and therefore healthy on a physical level as well. Yeah, and brilliant insight around the protection and just giving you a good reminder there. Pretty obvious one. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Same time and same place. Thank you.